What if I told you that the KKK is going through a rebrand? Yes, a rebranding. Here it is.
People think you got to be a Klan member to come to our church, and we're a church.
This is Thomas Robb, the Grand Wizard of the KKK, or as he likes to put it, the National Director. See, the Ku Klux Klan is currently going through a rebrand. Instead of calling themselves the KKK, they now call themselves the Knights Party. And Thomas Robb doesn't like to call himself the Grand Wizard. Instead, he's chosen a more subtle PR approach, the National Director.
We don't have a sign, everybody welcome, because everybody's not welcome to our church. There's
something that no one has ever really talked about is the fact that Thomas Robb is not only the Grand Wizard of the KKK, he's also a pastor.
I have more footage, but the fact that the Ku Klux Klans have a church is already disturbing. And their church isn't a welcome all church. Let's not go that far. But you don't necessarily have to be a Klansman to come and worship white Jesus at the KKK church. There's more.
I asked him if a black man could go to heaven, and this is Thomas Robb deflecting that question for 13 minutes.
The Bible doesn't address black people hardly at all.
So does that mean then, so your belief is the Bible was written by white people to white people?
In modern terms, written by Israelites.
I mean, that's a very generic way of putting it, but yeah.
Written by Israelites to Israel.
So would an Israeli be welcome in your church?
Probably not.
Y'all, the man basically said Jesus would not be welcomed in the Church of Jesus. That's how racist this man is. He wouldn't allow Jesus in the church, but will worship a white version of Jesus on a picture. Now that's called racist dedication. And he was honest. He said, probably not. All right, put it at full mass. So let me explain the rebranding here, okay? Makes it kind of worse in my opinion, but journalist Josh White did a great job, interviewed this Klansman named Thomas Robb. Thomas Robb, he wants to be known as the National Director. He wants to get rid of this Grand Wizard thing. That's just for behind closed doors. But to the public, he's your National Director. A regular nonprofit outreach organization for the white man. That's what he wants you to believe. And he wants you to know you don't necessarily have to be in the Klan in order to worship white Jesus with them. And so he wants to extend an olive branch, not to people of color, not even to brown people, but white Aryan. That's it. But you don't have to be a Klansman. All right, put it back up. The journalist's face, I gotta give it to him. He kept a straight face during this whole thing because there were some answers here that would have sent many of us into a place where our facial expression would have betrayed us, okay? You can find Josh White's full interview, KKK leader of Thomas Robb, at Josh White on Threads. Very thankful for his leadership. In his post on Threads, White would recap some key parts of his interview with Robb. Quote, when I asked where his racist views came from, he started to trace American history all the way back to Abraham in the Bible. To Robb, America's true story doesn't start in 1776. It starts with God's covenant with white Europeans because in his mind, Israelites in the Bible were white. This is how easily racism gets wrapped into systematic bias theology. You know, when he says black people aren't discussed in the Bible, can I say so? I gotta say this, because every person who has ever gone to a seminary class knows that even during that time, people were identified by family and region. Jesus of Nazareth, the Nazarene. The region where you from, the Canaanite, the area for the migration, the wilderness, the promised land. These are regions. These regions develop names. Even the nomadic regions from what we understand as Jacob being renamed into Israel, having 12 children known as the 12 tribes of Israel. And out of the tribe or the land region or the nomadic culture of Judah came the Christ through the lineage of that union. Now, all of this has to do with landmass, family structure, culture. They didn't refer to people by skin color like we do. But it is clear that they are people of color, because the few references of color, all of the references are black. From the Book of Solomon all the way to the description of Jesus in Revelation. Senator, his racism runs deep. What say you to this new brand of the KKK? You can be white, but not necessarily a Klansman and still come to our church.
It should be labeled as a terrorist group, Doc. With all seriousness.
That's right.
Just go on, President Trump.
Yeah.
Your administration should just go ahead and label the KKK as a terrorist group, because that is exactly what it has been historically and what it is now. It is a terrorist group. This is a reason why people like him need to have teachers who teach the real history, both on the theology side, but also just on the plain history side. Now, I call on Black Jesus when it's serious. That's the one I call on. Yes. And your references to the Bible, hair wool, feet of brass, not white, okay? That is for sure. But I call on Black Jesus specifically because in this country, they have made God white. And therefore, if you are not white and can never be white, then somehow God has made them superior. This man is just repeating the nonsense that imperialists have used to conquer peoples of color. But even if we just stick with this country and what happened to black folks, they use Christianity as a weapon against black people. And there's Coptic Christianity in Egypt and other types of Christianity. There are also other versions of the Bible too, Dr. Richey, which I understand this guy doesn't know. But let me talk to him about black people in heaven and how God would feel about that. Now, first of all, what would Jesus do? None of this foolishness this man is talking about, but you hit the nail on the head. Jesus ain't even welcome.
Right.
But I will put that in the parking lot. This is the historian in me coming out. There is a concept known as mitochondrial Eve. And that DNA is found on the continent of Africa, meaning the original mother of all humankind originated on the continent known as Africa. I double dog dare him to look up mitochondrial Eve and mitochondrial DNA. So he might be shocked to know that black women are the mothers of all.
That's right. The black woman is the mother, the cradle of civilization. That's according to science.
That's according to science.
The biodiversity, and this isn't being racially insensitive. The biodiversity inside of the black genome of the female mitochondria is the strand or contains the strands that allows for the DNA replication of anything. When I say anything, I mean any hue of color. Any hue of color. So that becomes the prerequisite to the conversation that most are unwilling to have. I'm okay with it. As a matter of fact, I love it. And we should all love a woman, period, because we all got here by one.